आने वाले कल की दस्तक हमें सुनाई देती है, नई मंजिल है जिस ओर हमें वो दिशा दिखाई देती है। नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए जोश से निकल पड़े हम, आने वाला कल होगा हमारा। नए इंडिया का नया जोश,
और नए इंडिया के सफर में टेक्नोलॉजी की शक्ति लेकर आपका भागीदार रहेगा रिलायंस। नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
आने वाले कल की दस्तक हमें सुनाई देती है, नई मंजिल है जिस ओर हमें वो दिशा दिखाई देती है। नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए जोश से निकल पड़े हम, आने वाला कल होगा हमारा। नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
और नए इंडिया के सफर में टेक्नोलॉजी की शक्ति लेकर आपका भागीदार रहेगा रिलायंस। नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
Good afternoon, all the panelists.
Good afternoon, Poonam.
Good afternoon, Poonam. How are you doing? Good afternoon, everyone.
Very well.
You know,
With your permission, we begin the session.
Sure.
A very good afternoon to all the panelists. I, Poonam Dixit, on behalf of CI, feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all present here to the Indo Pacific Business Summit with the theme of developing a roadmap for shared prosperity. Before we begin, I would like to request all speakers to keep their mics on mute and unmute only while speaking. With this, now I'd like to invite all the panelists for today's session, Driving Digital Transformation through Industry 4.0 in the Indo-Pacific. As we're all aware, digital adoption has taken a quantum leap at both the organizational and industry levels. And in just a few months' time, the COVID-19 crisis has brought about years of change in the way companies in all sectors and regions do business. Today's session would help to showcase the work being done in the Indo-Pacific region in the areas of digital transformation, and also identify opportunities for investment partnerships for many of the stakeholders attending the summit. The session will be chaired by Mr. Dilip Sawhney, Co-Chairman, CI Smart Manufacturing Council and Managing Director, Rockwell Automation India. Mrs. Sawhney is responsible for leading Rockwell Automation's India business, developing the markets, creating partnerships, and build a team that serves customers across industries all over the country. He has 3 decades of experience in industrial automation and healthcare technology industries. Without further delay, I would now like to invite Mr. Sawhney to give his opening remarks, introduce the panelists, and also take the session forward. Over to you, Mr. Sawhney. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Poonam. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, please.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot for the kind introduction. And very good morning, good afternoon, and a good evening to the esteemed panelists and also the audience from across this great Indo-Pacific region that's joining us today for what really promises to be an exciting and an engaging discussion on driving digital transformation through Industry 4.0 in the Indo-Pacific region. In terms of setting the context, with close to 3 billion in population, $41 trillion of combined GDP, and the 21 participating countries that we have in the Indo Pacific Business Summit, it reflects the reality of globalization in many ways, the emergence of multipolarity, and also the benefits of rebalancing. I believe the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, or IPOI as it is being referred to, which is being advanced by India, it clearly validates this assertion. A couple of points that crossed my mind. First and foremost, the transformation of the last decade, all the advances, that we made in a in a rapid manner, they stand overshadowed, unfortunately so, because of the impact of the pandemic. It's clearly disrupted our supply chains, particularly in this region. 50% of the global supply chains transcend this domain, the Indo Pacific domain. There's been a huge negative impact on manufacturing. The unpredictability that's set in, because of the events over the last 12 to 18 months. It's also significantly dented many service sectors as well, right? Globalized production networks, they remain vulnerable, undoubtedly, and also quite fragile. Global merchandise trade has fallen by close to 6% in 2020, and the predicted trade and services that has declined as much as 15% over this time period. The needs or the compulsions of the COVID era, they've made us, all of us, much more awake to the possibilities of digital. Let's put it this way. We choose to call it digital transformation at a societal level, if you will. This may be quite literal in terms of, things that we are witnessing, contact tracing, vaccination drives, or facilitative, in terms of, enhanced home delivery that we all have witnessed, and virtual calls, or very simply put, in terms of, lifestyle choices and work-life balances, as we've also experienced in the case of work from home. It's also unleashed a lot of new possibilities and efficiencies, and also what has come along with it is a much more amplified, risk profile. High-speed internet, cybersecurity, enhanced digital literacy, deeper technical cooperation, but also a lot of enhanced regional e-commerce and efficient e-governance. All of these are going to have a much more salient place in the conversations in the coming days and months. The strengthening of digital connectivity, both within and between the countries of the Indo Pacific region, is not only a compelling proposition, but in many ways it is an essential condition for the economic prosperity and development. In my view, the physical and digital connectivity remain very important in supporting shorter, efficient and diversified supply chains, risk mitigation, enhanced trade facilitation, and also reduction in the cost of intra-regional trade. I would also like to submit to you that international cooperation, especially amongst businesses, is going to be very much a key to better world that we all seek. So these are some opening thoughts that I wanted to share as we get started. And I'm going to now straight away dive into the discussions that we have with a distinguished set of panelists who bring with them a diverse set of perspectives and also great insights. Just a couple of simple, suggestions or rules of engagement, if you will, for the format that I would like to follow. What I would do is I would invite each one of our panelists, to make their opening comments, and then, also share, with them their initial thoughts on the impact of Industry 4.0 and digitalization, right? And what I would like to then do after this initial round, is to explore with each one of the panelists, some specific aspects which are more closely related to your respective areas of expertise. And for the initial opening comments and your initial thoughts, you can each take about 5 minutes. And I would like to begin with Ms. Sindhu Gangadharan. Ms. Gangadharan is the Senior Vice President and Managing Director of SAP Labs. So Sindhu, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sawhney, and good afternoon, everybody, also from my side. I have to say it's such an honor to be here with such an esteemed panel of speakers. And I also hope no matter from where you're dialing in, you're all doing fine and staying safe in these times. Staying safe and staying fine, of course, brings us to COVID, right? I think that's definitely on top still on many of our minds. And related to the topic that we're talking about, and also what Mr. Sawhney alluded to, I think we'd all agree that COVID has undoubtedly been one of the most unfortunate human tragedies. But at the same time, it has also brought in a very positive change in terms of digital transformation of industries worldwide, right, including right here in India. Now, what we see is that Industry 4.0 and digital transformation is already influencing sectors like manufacturing. I think we touched on that, supply chain management, construction, shipping, and many others. And in fact, it's very heartening to see also India's move to the cloud, which is completely backed up by the government of India, where we recently launched the Digital India program. Now, we also saw programs like Samarth Udyog Bharat 4.0, which is all about smart, advanced manufacturing and rapid transformation hubs, which is all about aiming to propagate technology solutions to Indian manufacturing units by 2025. Or if I just look back at the last union budget, I think it's very clear that we had major investments when it went into AI or quantum computing or technology in general, machine learning, which all will clearly further boost the country's digital transformation. So, definitely a lot of positive developments here. Now, at the same time, it's also important to understand that the degree of maturity and also the phases of digital development clearly differ significantly within such a vast country of the size of India. What I mean is, if you look at certain industry verticals, they're already quite advanced, right? They're already well prepared when it comes to digital transformation. We are looking at aspects like smart manufacturing and how that can enhance business, change in business models. But there are also so many Indian enterprises who still struggle to know how Industry 4.0 and digital transformation can impact their business in the best manner. Now, if you ask me, the best part about Industry 4.0 is that unlike prior industrial revolutions, Industry 4.0 is not just about replacing existing assets with new ones, but it's also about mastering these new technologies, and it's also about mastering challenges which are posed by these disruptive technologies along different dimensions. For example, it's about achieving the next horizon of operational effectiveness. It's about building those new business models and really experimenting with those new business models based on shifting value pools. It's also about driving transformation digitally across your entire organization. So there's no shying away from the fact that digital transformation is absolutely key to scaling your enterprises and to also protect it from all kinds of external threats, including a very competitive market out there. So I'd say Indian enterprises absolutely need to take smart risks as they adapt current business models and also adapt and adopt new disruptive ones. And secondly, if you ask me, Indian companies will also need to invest in building digital capabilities because it's not just about, hey, I can embrace these technologies, but it's also about building those capabilities, which also means also hiring the right people with the right skills that need to also start and in order to accelerate that digital transformation. And I know that can be sometimes challenging because many times India's most talented workers tend to emigrate. So organizations also need to focus on that, need to start building that deeper technology understanding and capabilities at all levels in the organization, including the C-suite. And finally, I'd say it's also about being agile. It's about that driving that change and really thinking of themselves as digital first organizations. And I want to also call out one thing and also reiterate the need for managing Industry 4.0 as a program. And I want to take you from the platform for Industry 4.0 in Germany. And I think it's a great approach, right? To have a stakeholder group and stakeholders representing the government, the industry, the academia, research, trade unions, as well as regulators. And because when you have such a cross stakeholder group, you can really work on strategic direction and also efforts, particularly in areas like standards, which is so important around interoperability. Standards drive interoperability. It's all about skilling and reskilling or building those reference architectures, which are so much needed. Looking at aspects like digital and broadband infrastructure, looking at your work organization and how do we redesign the work organization. And you also mentioned it earlier, topics like cybersecurity and what it means from a regulatory environment. So these are some opening thoughts I have, and I'm really looking forward to the other esteemed speakers and their thoughts and really building upon them. So happy to be here and looking forward to the panel.
Well, thank you so much, Sindhu. Those were great opening comments. You covered a vast array of topics, and I particularly liked, the compelling case you put forth for scaling and protecting the enterprises all at the same time, and capability enhancement and interoperability. Number of very interesting aspects covered. Next, I would like to come to Mr. Swaminathan Vangal Ramamurthy. Swami is the general manager at Omron Automation Center in Singapore, responsible for robotics at Omron Asia Pacific Private Limited. Swami, over to you for your opening comments, please.
Namaste. Thank you, Mr. Swani. Greetings from Singapore. Do you hear me well?
Loud and clear.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And good afternoon to all of the delegates. Good morning, and to the delegates and also panelists. It's an honor to share our journey to facilitate Industrial 4.0 adoption in the APAC region. So I think some of the things I'm going to be talking about kind of overlap with what Sindhu was talking about as well. There are three areas I would like to talk about today. The first thing is the current state of Industrial 4.0 in Singapore with respect to the Singapore context, and also an APAC APAC perspective. And the second thing is going forward, what do we see as trends, and where do we have to look at investing to sustain this kind of a growth and area of focus. So on the first one, almost every manufacturing facility is aware of Industrial 4.0 now, right? Thanks to all the awareness that is created. But when you talk to manufacturing facilities, they know Industrial 4.0 as a term, and they all realize that connected manufacturing is the need of the day. But depending on the region and the area, the maturity level and speed of adoption varies. So as we all know, Industrial 4.0 packages a suite of technologies such as IoT, robotics, analytics, etc., that are connected and bring convergence between digital and physical systems. While the community recognizes that the opportunity to connected manufacturing ecosystem, many still need help in where and how to start. Again, Sindhu is alluding to this as well, giving the German perspective. In Singapore, the Singapore Smart Industry Readiness Index provides a common framework for all companies to participate in and benefit from this transformation, and to help companies know where to start and how to scale and how to sustain their Industrial 4.0 efforts. This is built by three building blocks such as process, technology, and organization, and drills down into 8 pillars: operations, supply chain, product lifecycle, automation, connectivity, intelligence, talent readiness, and structure and management. Again, it drills down furthermore. As Omron, Singapore being the regional headquarters, we help industries with their transformation by providing technologies needed for such as smart sensors, robotics, AI, IoTs, etc. And then we use these experience and success stories to implement similar things in regionally in the APAC region. So going forward, what do we see as trends? In regions that are fairly advanced in adoption rates, in addition to this quality, cost, and delivery, we are trying to enhance through Industrial 4.0. We are starting to see two additional terms. that are added to this QCD equation, right? That is sustainability and human centricity. We're also seeing the new shift from IoT to IOA, the Internet of Abilities, that looks at harmony between humans and machines. The new smart manufacturing ecosystem based on IOA is going to be really hyper-connected thinking factories, which are self-optimizing, self-healing, and happy, right? You heard me right, it's happy. Now, the term happy factory is so far unheard and surprising to many of us, right? Happiness is a state that we typically associate with a B2C or a consumer mindset. But the new smart manufacturing ecosystem based on IOA has the potential not only to set up a happiness index for the factories, but also to make them score high. The literal meaning of happy factories is a shop floor where workers are happy, productive, and creative because they have immensely valuable and seamless machine-human harmony through technology. Inducting human dexterity through 3D vision-based cobots trying to work along with humans, autonomous training to minimize differential productivity between operators, etc., or some of the areas we see IA 4.0 expand to address these new emerging societal mindset. And the key areas to keep investing and keeping this going forward. We see that this sector needs a collaborative teamwork between technology providers that provide the know-how, the industrial partnership to create solutions, the workforce skill enhancers such as academic institutions, the government stakeholders to facilitate skill adoption, and then finally, manufacturers to make it a reality. As an example of such initiative is one of the advanced manufacturing centers we set up at one of the polytechnics in Singapore. That was kind of a confluence of all these players that I mentioned. In addition, and at the Automation Innovation Center in Omron, Singapore, the one that you're seeing now behind me is a live regional lab that we have set up for startups, entrepreneurs, and the manufacturing community to leverage and co-create innovative solutions. And also in Omron, India, which is part of our region here, we have invested in a similar facility. And as regional Omron, we would like to pledge this facility for the benefit of manufacturing community at large for India, the entrepreneurs there, the startups that want to leverage our facility to create new smart solutions. So those are my initial thoughts, and really looking forward to the rest of the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Swami. Great insights. And what you spoke about, the whole idea, the notion of happy factory and the happiness index. We're just getting warmed up here, and great ideas coming through. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to come to Mr. Ismail Ali Abdullah. Mr. Abdullah, he is the CEO of Strata Manufacturing, PJSC, and he's also the Senior Vice President for Aerospace, Renewables, and ICT at Mubadala Investment Company. So, Mr. Abdullah, over to you for your opening comments, and your initial thoughts.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, good day, and it's a pleasure to be with you here. When we speak about the fourth industrial revolution, this term was actually coined back in 2015. Nevertheless, some of the technologies related to 4IR has been there probably since the beginning of the last decade, from 2010, even a bit before that. The fourth industrial revolution has made advances in areas related to connectivity, in areas related to intelligence, as well as in areas related to flexible automation. The idea is simple: connecting the physical, biological, as well as digital technologies together to ensure that we enhance processes, in order to have a better throughput or output. What we see today is that there are three major megatrends worldwide that are inescapable, where the fourth industrial revolution technologies will help us address. The first one is the shortage of skilled labor. Between 2015 up to 2030, it is expected that 300 million skilled labor will be retiring. It is also expected that there will be a shortage in pipeline in terms of talented individuals replacing and addressing the shortage of skills. This means that by 2030, at minimum, there will be a shortage of 100 million skilled labor to fuel the growth of companies, countries, and other activities. 4IR technologies such as flexible automation will help address and bridge some of that gap. It is expected that 40% of today's activities can be actually automated. And here I would like to stress that it does not mean that jobs will be lost. Jobs will be lost, yes. Jobs will be created. Is it going to be a zero-sum game? Still, the jury is out. So this is the first major trend or mega trend. The second one is sustainability and environment. There is more and more pressure on countries and companies to lower their carbon footprint. The 1.5 Celsius degree increase by the end of the decade is probably highly likely today. If there is a continuation of current activities by 2060, the number of resources required from today needs to be doubled, mainly energy resources. 4IR will help countries, companies addressing their pledges to meet their targets when it comes to reducing the carbon footprint through better automation, better utilization of resources, and creating circular economies. The third megatrend that we are forecasting in the future is something related to the customer. The customer are demanding faster, cheaper products. This places more pressure and complexities on companies, as well as on the margins that those companies are making. 4IR will enhance responsiveness in terms of time to market, as well as customization of products. It is expected that by 2030, 55 trillion will be the worth of 4IR activities. 40% of the world GDP will come from 4IR. What was in the past nice to have, in the future, to ensure continuation, to ensure sustainability, to ensure that companies continue to drive forward and countries to drive forward, will be a must have, not nice to have. And this is evident, there is this famous saying that follow the money. Over the last 5 years, between 2015 to 2019, we have seen $169 billion worth of deals being placed in companies related to 4IR. The top 8 institutional investors in the world collectively invested $50 billion in more than 100 deals in companies related to 4IR, which means that these companies will play a key role in the future of countries as well as in the future of companies. This is my starting remarks, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. And as we go, I will share with you some of the activities and some of the investments that we have made here at Strata.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah. Those were great insights, and all the 3 megatrends that you spoke about, were and some of the scale that you alluded to, the impact of 4IR, on the global scale, the global economy, simply staggering, and I think it paints a very compelling picture. Next, I would like to come to Mr. Duncan McInnes, who's the director and director for stakeholder engagement for New South Wales and ACT at MTP, I stand corrected, MTP Connect in Australia. Mr. McInnes, over to you for your opening comments and your thoughts and insights.
Thank you so much for having me, and good evening from Sydney, Australia. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land I'm on and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be with us on this meeting and webinar. I pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging, and recognise and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and water in Australia. For those of you who aren't familiar with MTP Connect, we are Australia's industry growth centre for the medical technology, biotech, pharmaceutical and digital health sectors. We were formed in 2015 as part of the federal government's Industry Growth Centre initiative, and we're an independent, not-for-profit organisation that champions a sector-led approach to accelerate and boost growth of the ecosystem in Australia. We operate at the nexus of government, industry and academia, and we exist to advise and advocate, promote greater collaboration, alignment and engagement, and to drive innovation, productivity and competition. Central to achieving these goals is deployment of cash into the sector, both through our Growth Centre funding from the Federal Department of Industry and through administration of almost $150 million of Medical Research Future Fund funding across 4 programs. As part of our activities, MTP Connect regularly updates our sector competitiveness plan that includes an overview of the megatrends that we see as the overarching social, economic, environmental, technological and geopolitical forces that shape the future of our sector. These include consumer control, where access to information empowers consumers to manage their own healthcare. The chronic burden, with new technologies allowing better management of chronic health conditions such as cardiovascular disease and diabetes, and including mental health. And precision healthcare, where better understanding of disease gained through technological advancements that allow generation of large volumes of data leads to the targeting of treatments, getting the right patient, the right treatment at the right time. Central to these megatrends and the others shaping the future of healthcare is what we call the digital evolution. Developments in how we use, exchange and process data, and our ability to generate insights from vast, multifaceted data sets using tools like AI will profoundly change the way individuals interact with the healthcare system and forever alter value chains. For an example of this, we only need to look at the remarkable development of the multiple COVID-19 vaccines, an unprecedented compression of a decade-long process into 8 months. This monumental achievement of multiple groups was achieved through collaboration enabled by secure data sharing. The model of a vertically integrated pharmaceutical company discovering, developing, manufacturing and selling drugs is less and less relevant. The vaccines that we have now were brought to market via collaboration between biotech, pharmaceutical companies, contract clinical research organizations, contract manufacturers and logistics specialists, all enabled by digital transformation and Industry 4.0. In Australia, we saw a similar, albeit much smaller collaborative team of local manufacturers come together last year to repurpose production lines for the provision of emergency ventilators, again, enabled by digital transformation and Industry 4.0 processes. Of course, as we've heard and we all know, COVID has driven digital transformation like no other event, with one of the major changes being the embrace of telehealth services around the world. Telehealth is a broad term that can be used to describe simple replacement of face-to-face consult with a phone call, or more advanced solutions including video and remote monitoring of physiological measures. As we noted in our recent reports on frugal innovation in India and the digital health opportunity in Indonesia, prepared in partnership with AsiaLink Business, the Indo Pacific region is ideally placed to take advantage of technologies that use these mobile technologies with high uptake and market penetration that exceeds fixed infrastructure. Digital health in particular, including provision of remote care and the hospital in the home concept, can be highly suited to healthcare provision for dispersed populations and where health budgets are constrained. And we know, for example, that average per capita health expenditure in India is approximately a 20th, and in Indonesia, approximately a 30th of spend in Australia. Digital health interventions should always aim to improve clinical outcomes first and reduce expenditure second. Finally, it should be noted that while digital transformation in health presents many opportunities, it also opens up the sector more and more to the threat of cyber attack. Health in general is already a target, and increasing use of these Industry 4.0 methods will only accentuate this. And with that, I hand back to you, Mr. Soni.
Thank you so much, Mr. McInnes. Great insights, and particularly the background that you bring from healthcare and medical technologies, was spot on. And some of these examples that you gave, particularly collaboration that was enabled by the fourth industrial revolution that accelerated all the advances. A couple of examples that you gave around vaccine development and so forth. Again, a very important additional dimension to our developing discourse. Thank you so much. Next, I'm going to come to Ms. Sonia Banerjee. Ms. Banerjee is the VP of Innovation and Global GTM and a joint IP holder in design thinking for Industry 4.0 at Amplo Global. So, Ms. Banerjee, over to you for your opening comments and your insights.
I hope you're able to hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. And good afternoon to everyone over here. And thank you for having me here. Good afternoon, all the esteemed panelists and all the attendees who are making time to attend this session. So Amplo Global, in a very quick snapshot, we are a disruptive, strategy makers, really. We help you devise your strategy in this chaos that's around us, in this unpredictable, unprecedented COVID that's kind of hit all of us. So what we do, and this is what I want to, take in from what Mr. Swami said, and some of the other panelists also touched upon, is when in Industry 4.2 with process and people and machine and data, what we bring in is, are you ready? And to what extent are you ready? And this is where we focus. We focus on connected operations. We focus on connected data, on connected product, but more importantly, on the connected experience. And that's what we aim to deliver. Like Mr. Swami very nicely said, about smart factories, but smart and happy factories. And so we bring in through precise data, we bring in that whole insight and very enriched insight into experiences between cobots, between processes, between data, and between people, and making the Industry 4.0 really, really human-centric. And with what's hit the entire world, we know that human centricity, is really at the fulcrum of all the revolutions that are really happening. So this is, having listened to all the esteemed panel, this is the opening statement. I do not want to take any more time from the next bit of discussions that are there. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Ms. Banerjee. Those ideas, particularly the notion of connected experience, as you put it, very well said. Thanks a lot. And I'm going to continue on and come to you, Mr. Dhirendra Kulkarni. Mr. Kulkarni is the Senior Technical Director at PTC in India. So, Mr. Kulkarni, over to you for your opening comments.
Yeah, thanks, Dilip. Good afternoon. Are you able to hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, first of all, very much for taking me part of this esteemed panel. So since I come from a platform provider or a solution provider, so I'll give maybe a slightly different perspective than what others might have given so far. So I will just take it in three ways. The first one is basically what is this Industry 4.0 is all about. So the digital transformation, basically Industry 4.0 is a key enabler for digital transformation. Definitely, there is no doubt on that. But Industry 4.0 is usually referred to as more related to the manufacturing. But after all, it is a physical and digital convergence. So I think it is also can be applicable to engineering, where the products are smart and connected, where the data can come in from the various products that are in the field, which can provide a good insights to the engineering team to do some kind of understanding, analyze, and do some kind of innovations there. I think it plays a very important role. And also on the services side or on the aftermarket side, where it can help to really diagnose and service those products in the field to improve the first time fix rates or reduce the service cost tremendously. So definitely, other than manufacturing, it also has a very important role. After all, as I said, the physical digital convergence actually. Now, coming to the manufacturing, yes, it has a great impact. Industry 4.0 has a great impact on the manufacturing side. And in my opinion, Industry 4.0 is just not about new technologies. Like many of the panelists mentioned about the key components of Industry 4.0, like industrial IoT, AR, VR, AI, cloud computing, and those kind of things. Definitely, they are new technologies. But Industry 4.0 is more effective when you combine the new technologies by digitalizing the existing processes, right? You digitalize your existing process upstream and downstream and connect that with the new technologies that will implement in the manufacturing, and you create that sort of a digital thread. So digitalization of the existing process, new technologies will really make that Industry 4.0 more effective. Now, coming from an impact perspective, I think it improves the overall manufacturing excellence, and that manufacturing excellence really provides a growth in the revenue. For example, you can monitor the assets improvement, the overall utilization of the assets can always improve by 10 to 20%, which can improve your overall equipment effectiveness. That's a measure of the manufacturing KPI by at least 10 to 20%. Again, I'm speaking these figures based on our experience implementing the industrial IoT solutions in the manufacturing in India. And it reduces the overall operating cost and overall contributing into the the improvement in the revenue with improved manufacturing excellence and improved quality. So that is how it has got a big impact on the overall digital transformation. Now coming to the as a platform provider or as a solution provider, what is the status or what is our experience or my experience of Industry 4.0, especially in India? It has definitely, I can say, it has taken off. But probably not taken off at the speed that probably we would all want it to be. So it is a little bit slow in that, but definitely there are visionaries and there are pioneers who have already taken few steps in making their manufacturing shop floor smart and realizing the value out of it. And as I also said, this is also a great opportunity for the Indian community, the industry here, because as this is a physical digital convergence, it creates a great opportunity for the startups and innovators. Like, I was just browsing something and I saw that by 2020, 2021, there are 50 billion devices that are smart and connected. In fact, every product that is coming today is smart and connected. So that gives us an opportunity to create apps together, build, because after all, the data is coming from there to visualization. The visualization apps have to be built. So today for 50 billion devices, there are 5 million apps. And probably in the next 8 to 10 years, the devices that will be smart and connected will go to trillion, whereas the number of apps required to visualize that will also grow from 5 million to probably 500 million. So you can imagine the kind of opportunities that creates, just not in the manufacturing, but also in the IT development space and all of that. So, so I think there is a great opportunity. Yes, there is a lot of awareness. Pilot projects are all going on, but yes, it has to take up a little bit of speed there, and probably in the next few years, we would see a great revolution in the Indian industry by adopting this Industry 4.0 to be able to compete globally and improve our overall GDP with this. So, thank you. Those were just very quick and initial comments.
No, certainly. I think you covered a wide breadth again, and I appreciate the manner in which you brought out the digital and physical convergence. And also Industry 4.0 not just being limited only to, like you put it, manufacturing, but the manner in which it brings together design, engineering, and also into the aftermarket services aspects. So thank you so much for sharing those thoughts. And the 50 billion devices going into their trillions, absolutely. I think the numbers and the scale is absolutely astounding, and there's going to be this explosion of data, that we'll have to deal with. Thank you so much, all the panelists, for sharing your initial thoughts. In the first round itself, we've had great amount of insights, and this gives me an opportunity to now, double click and sort of just go a little bit deeper into your respective areas of expertise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to you, Sindhu, and a question that I have for you is, SAP has announced Industry 4.0 now. It's a strategic investment which is meant to help customers transform their manufacturing businesses. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, sure, sure, Mr. Soni, and thanks for the question. I'm totally aware that probably not everybody on the call today is aware of what we at SAP do. So SAP is the market leader in enterprise application software. We're all about helping companies of all sizes and in all industries run at their best. Now, to put things into perspective, just to give you one data point, right? So 77% of the world's transaction revenue touches an SAP system, just to understand the nature of the business we are in. And we are in 130 locations across the globe. Now, coming to your question, Mr. Soni, yes, digital transformation is at the core of what we do at SAP. And in fact, we launched the Industry 4.0 Now initiative to really help our customers also accelerate their digital transformation journeys. And this becomes even more relevant in the COVID scenario because in all my interactions with CIOs and this is irrespective of industries, right? One thing which is very consistent throughout all these conversations is their need to accelerate the move to the cloud. And every single leader I speak to clearly underlines the need to also protect their business and their enterprises, and also to protect them against all these vulnerabilities, right? So COVID was definitely a kind of a wake up moment, if you ask, but many more, right? So at SAP, if you just ask me, it's all about combining our solutions. It's about combining our technology to bring that data-driven, customer first, and also bringing that operation flexibility to the entire business. And like I said, it's all about enabling enterprises of any size, be it large or small or medium, to build intelligent production processes that's all about adapting very dynamically to the different demands, to the different setups, to the different workflows. And the whole idea is to be able to connect the entire enterprise. And it's really about bringing together aspects, be it logistics, be it sales and service, and making sure that every step is orchestrated so that you can really avoid those gaps or any kind of delays that we all kind of talked about in different contexts, right? And different industries that we all come from. And we have a very broad solution portfolio to also unlock the value of Industry 4.0. And it's all about combining the power of intelligent manufacturing, be it in factories and plants, with the whole end-to-end process execution across the supply chain. And this many times, yes, if we take it in the manufacturing context, it starts all the way from design to all the way ending up, and it's a cycle when you talk about operations, right? So it starts in design, and where we are really about empowering organizations with everything around how do you connect to even monitor market trends, right? And really innovate to deliver on those customers' very unique desires and unique needs. And it's also about digitizing that whole product life cycle. Like I said, right from design all the way to decommission, to also improving how can we innovate further, how can we improve the design, going into production engineering, all the way into assembly processes. And all this information being shared also in a seamless manner across your engineering units, manufacturing, asset operations, and so on. And so the idea behind it is really intelligence built into your different phases of the process. So that also when you think about last minute changes, having a very flexible way into how engineering changes can immediately be handed over to manufacturing operations, and also giving enterprises that high level of agility, because of course we all know that we are dealing with customers who have changing requirements, changing market conditions. So things what you have in the initial order to completion might look different, right? But you need to make sure that your actual production process can really be capable to adapt to those dynamic changes. So for us, it boils down to really having an intelligent factory, supporting it with the technologies which are agile, which are adaptable, and really ready to support different kinds of production scenarios. And it's about that, if you ask me, that elasticity to be able to deal with varying production volumes and manufacturing technologies. So in short, Mr. Soni, I'd say when it comes to digital transformation, it's all about driving towards that intelligence in your enterprise. And this is why SAP, it's all about making sure that we enable enterprises of all sizes to become intelligent enterprises.
Well said. Well, thank you so much. Great insights. And I'm glad that you went pretty deep, and you've covered a whole lot of aspects, particularly the need around agility, because the chaos is only going to increase, and we'll need this kind of capability, as you just laid out, to overcome all the challenges and deliver for the happy customers that we've been talking about. Next, I'm going to come to you, Mr. Abdullah. My question to you is, what is the future of digitalization within Strata, and what is the expected impact, out of these initiatives around digitalization?
Thanks, Dilip, for the question. So let me start just by giving a brief about Strata. Strata Manufacturing is an aerostructure manufacturing company. So we manufacture aircraft parts for the likes of Airbus and Boeing. Most of our programs are on the wide-body aircraft, such as Airbus 330, 350, and previously the 380. For Boeing, we manufacture on the 777, 787, and 777X, which is the newest commercial aircraft for Boeing. Also, we do some parts for business jets, such as the Pilatus 24, and we do some structures for satellite in collaboration with the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center here in the UAE. We are proud that 8% of the worldwide fleet of wide-body aircrafts have parts made with pride here in the UAE. Back in 2015, we have established a dedicated research and technology arm within Strata, and we've allocated percentage of our top line that goes into funding activities related to research and technology. The research and technology arm has a number of objectives. Objective number one is to build a bridge between industry and academia. We've teamed up with one of the local universities here, Khalifa University. We've established ARIC, which is the Aerospace Research and Innovation Center, which provides a medium for faculty as well as students to pursue projects related to aerospace, related to advanced manufacturing, that will support us here at Strata. The second objective of this research and technology arm is actually to deploy some of the technologies on the production line here, enhancing efficiency, enhancing quality, reducing time, and ensuring that the speed of production is either enhanced or at least maintained. So we do have actually a center here within our facility, and the third thing is to try to understand. No one has a crystal ball, but try to understand where IR will take us into the future. We have some of the applications that have been actually installed here. So, for example, robotics. We are installing a number of robots in a couple of the manufacturing lines that we have here. We've also installed a number of IoT services within the production line to gauge manufacturing, understanding data better. But most importantly, and this is the biggest value that we have seen, the ability to understand and analyze data in a timely fashion. On a daily basis, there are hundreds of thousands of data transactions, and we need an army of people actually to go through this data and understand it. Now, through deploying a couple of tools related to artificial intelligence, we were actually able to enhance quality on some of the product, first-time quality, which is very important in our industry, on some of the product, by being able to process and understand the data in a timely fashion. Again, companies that are operating in aerospace industry, when it comes to pressures on margins, we are not in the business of nice to haves. We are in the business of must haves. But from my perspective, with what we have learned from the pandemic, that the future for IR applications within the industry is a must. A simple example of that, one of the key challenges that anyone is facing is something that we call a bullwhip effect. Any fluctuation in demand, either up or down, usually you end up with either higher inventory or you cannot meet the demand. 4IR actually will help connect companies along the value chain, along the supply chain, enhance their responsiveness to demand fluctuation. And I believe that this is a very important area for our industry.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. I think the insights that you brought out, a couple that I really liked was, the manner in which you explained the idea behind the ARIC and bringing the set of stakeholders all together, including, research, educational institutes, academia, and then, the whole idea of having the capabilities and building the tools to analyze, the power of analytics, very, very important. Thank you so much for those insights, Mr. Abdullah. I'm going to come to you next, Swami. And my question for you is, what role do you think Industry 4.0, has played in sustaining business during this crisis? In short, what have been, the learnings or the takeaways for you as you look back over the last, 15 to 18 months? Inside of your organizations, but also, you support a vast number of industry players as well.
Thank you, Mr. Sani, for the question. If you put it, very short, overall, this current COVID crisis has only accelerated our plunge into Industrial 4.0. No, not just us, but all our customers as well. The manufacturing community is challenged to handle uncertainty and still needing to meet customers' needs. Right? So there are two key things that we've seen. The real-time data and modularity, have been these two keys to address these uncertainties. On the real-time data front, there are kind of three areas of interest that we need to kind of, or we are addressing. So we're increasing the visibility through digitalization and increasing transparency through sensorization and increasing predictability through optimization. And on the modularity front, we've seen low contact ecosystem through hyper-connected factories. I think Sindhu was mentioning about this, the importance of the digitalization when it comes to remote working and things like that, and the emphasis on reconfigurable automation to address personalized manufacturing. The last one would be the machine collaboration using cobots and autonomous robots. So these the fundamental has been, how do I visualize and how do I take action through these modular concepts and flexible manufacturing.
Sure. No. Thanks, Swami. And the whole notion of reconfigurable manufacturing automation, as you put it, for personalized manufacturing, I think kind of like summed up the whole notion very well. And the manner in which you've segmented the need for real-time data and modularity. Thanks for those insights. I'm going to come to you, Duncan, next. And my question for you is, and if you would like to just, explore a little bit more around any best practices or innovations from your country during this time of crisis during COVID, especially coming from your background in medical technologies, biotechnologies, and pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. It's a very interesting one. I think Australia is in a slightly different position compared to a lot of its regional partners, in that we tend not to make an awful lot of stuff in Australia. And so when the supply chain fragility was made clear early on in the pandemic, it became quite clear quite quickly that a lot of the manufacturers that were available would need to be changing the way that they worked. We as MTP Connect were quite heavily involved in helping groups who were working in, say, manufacturing for the mining sector or other sectors, help retool, reskill, and change the way they worked so that they were able to produce medical products. And there were a number of barriers there. Those are barriers that we're still trying to address, and the federal government is investing quite a lot of money to help us understand that. But essentially, Australia as a nation over the last sort of couple of decades has moved away from manufacturing onshore. Where we do have manufacturing capability, it is generally in the mining or defence space. So what we're doing now is trying to understand where it is that Australia can add value as a manufacturing nation, and how that's going to help us weather the storm when the next inevitable pandemic comes along.
Sure, no. Totally understand. The context varies so vastly across the region that we call as the Indo Pacific. Thank you so much, Duncan. Really appreciate it. Coming next to yourself, Sonia, my question to you would be, if you would, want to share with us in terms of, your insights. What role do you think that Industry 4.0 played in sustaining businesses during this crisis? From your perspective, again, you have the advantage or vantage viewpoint since you work with a lot of industry players. Sonia?
Thank you for the question. So one of the biggest advantage that we saw was the whole opening of remote working, right? And how a data-led, experience-led mindshare really propelled that. It actually brought it to motion. Because of certain available assets, one could quickly get on with it, and we've seen it, and it's this is across, not just for consumer-facing businesses, but what really are the backed operations that also kind of worked fantastically well. And that was really propelled by data and a data-led mindshare, like I said. That was also propelled by a lot of applications which were already in the foray. So this is one part of people. But the other big thing that we did see was how in manufacturing, business continued thanks to control towers, and that happened thanks to, again, a lot of real-time data and ability to really process that data. Of course, one cannot help but say that there were issues with data quality. It was not that it was like seamless, but that was where the challenge was, and how the ecosystem really got together to, solve that and, keep that data quality, data governance, and data stewardship together to propel each of these AI-led machines to finally deliver complex predictability forecasting in absolutely unconventional and unseen environment, to actually delivering delivering productivity, delivering manufacturing, and all of that. And in fact, another point on even supply chain, we know that how supply chain was disrupted during this entire time. And again, how the workforce came together for supply chain, for manufacturing. And once it started opening, even the consideration for upskilling and consideration of safety. So that's where the beautiful marriage between human centricity and data-led and AI-led beautiful revolution that we are seeing came together. So this is what we have been seeing, and we're very. This was actually very fulfilling at one end also to work in projects which where we played a vital role in making it happen. I think that was, personally speaking, for each one of us, was very, very fulfilling to see it unfold in front of us and being at the front of it, quickly telling clients that, are you ready for these processes, and what are really the process gaps and where you need to do and how you can ramp it up really, really quickly, and yet bring in, kind of the experience that you want, and be aligned with, all the lockdown and unlockdown and unpredictability. So really bringing in that quick data quality, the process and data mind share, and really aligning the forces and enabling, from control tower to supply chain to all with experiences. I think that was phenomenal for all of us at Amplin.
Thank you so much, Sonia. I think the insights that you brought out, particularly this the data-led mind share, and recognizing that certainly there were issues around data quality. I think the entire cross-section of industries, as their dependence, the need for data went from X to Y. So certainly, but I appreciate the manner in which you described how the entire ecosystem got together and dealt with the issues. So the collaboration across the ecosystem, coming through very, very clearly in your remarks. Thanks for those insights. I'm going to come to you, Dhirendra, next. And coming from a platform provider, what I would like to know from you is, how should an organization start its Industry 4.0 journey? Clearly, there are people who are at every stage of the spectrum, in terms of many who are just exploring, some that have, actually started to accrue the benefits, of the investments they've made. And then there are multiple aspects around people, processes, and technologies. So what I would like to know from you is, how should an organization start its journey, and how should they go about it? Dhirendra?
Yeah, sure. I think you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So thank you. That's a great question. And Dilip, I think in my experience, Industry 4.0 is, first of all, applicable to any industry. It's not necessarily that only the big industries should implement. It is not for the small or medium scale, not like that. It can be implemented to any industry. So anybody can actually go ahead and implement Industry 4.0. Now, how do we start, right? Because there are so many technologies and there are so many things. So how do we really start with that? I keep a simple 4 things. I think Mr. Swami did mention about it in his speech, but I would say just 4 pillars. And those are visibility, transparency, predictability, and the adaptability. Now, let me explain you what it means. I think the first step, what we need to do is visibility. We need to get the visibility of what is happening in the shop floor. And that should be the first step of any organization when they have to start the Industry 4.0 journey. What does that mean? They already have certain machines on the shop floor. There would be some old machines, new machine. There can be a mixture, actually, not necessarily that everything is new with high-tech connectivity and all of that, but I guess there are a lot of technologies available to make them smart. So all that first step is to do is OT-IT convergence, get the data and start visualizing the data. The moment you start visualizing the data, I can tell you, because these operators and the supervisors on the shop floor have been working there for many years, and they start visualizing the data, they can do wonders with that data. Actually, they come up with so many ideas, we can't even think of it, actually, right? The first step is to really make that IT-OT convergence, get the data and start visualizing. That itself will give you a lot of insights and probably a good, you can take a good, quick, informed decision. Now, the second one is, as you connect it and start visualizing, build a little bit of conditions there. I call it a condition-based monitoring, which is transparency, because in visibility, you know what is happening. In transparency, you will know why it is happening. If there is some challenge or some issue there in the manufacturing there, you have built some conditions there. You will exactly know why it is really happening. So how quick what should I do, if this is happening like that? So you can quickly take that decision. You can just make a quick stopover, and repair that, and again quickly get back into the production there. So that second step is basically, just build in certain conditions of thresholds and start getting a deeper insight of why it is happening. And these are I can say that, everybody should start with this. It will take maybe a few months, 6 months to a year to do this thing, because you start collecting the data, you get insights. And the third step is basically predictability. That is predictive analytics, right? Many of the organizations start thinking of predictive analytics right in the beginning, not necessary actually, First, they need to collect the data and do this transparency and visibility, and then get to the predictability. Predictability is what is going to happen. For that, you need to have that initial first 2 steps. So the third step is basically a 6 months to 1 year down the line when you started. And once you start getting that predictability, then that is basically your AI and machine learning all comes together there. And the last step is the adaptability, or probably a highest state of maturity in Industry 4.0, which is more like an autonomous. It is just not predicting, but also prescribing. It's like a doctor, telling you also, what would be the best way to optimize and take it forward. I think these are the 4 pillars. And the first 2 are definitely something which everybody can get started with that for a few months, and then slowly they can mature, over a period of time.
Sure. Thank you, Dhirendra. I think the manner in which you described those 4 pillars, there's a lot more work to be done for the first 2, but there's a lot greater value to be accrued in the later 2 pillars. But you can't get to the later 2 without spending time on the first 2. And that is really an important insight, as you brought out. Thanks for sharing those insights. Now, there is one more aspect, and, I recognize that we are going to run out of time, but there's one more aspect which I wanted to explore, and that's really the role of robotics, and since, there are a lot of stakeholders who have an interest in manufacturing. I'm probably going to come to you, Swami. I would like you to throw some light on how robotics are being integrated, into the mainstream of automation business. And also, if you can share some insights on how SMEs and MSME companies, how can they leverage robotics in their digitalization journey in manufacturing?
Thank you again. I think it's a great question. Robotics has become a household name nowadays, right? Because it's now considered just as another automation tool rather than a novelty. And we've also realized as a society, we need tools to make our life easier, efficient, happier by really delegating hard and laborious and laborious and also unsafe work, right? So I would classify these robots or robotics into 3 major categories. The fixed industrial robots that are high speed, high precision, to bring more productivity in the designated task. I think many of us know about this. Automotive industry is a great example of that. And collaborative robots working with humans side by side safely as a partner to enhance and augment human-machine interactions. I mean, these are fairly recent, I would say, compared to the industrial robots. So as we get closer to human-machine interactions, I think cobots have become pretty popular now. And then autonomous robots, mobile autonomous robots, bringing in flexibility on the same shop floor while moving materials in and out of the factory with natural feature navigation. And then a combination of these things, right? You've got now collaborative robots mounted on autonomous robots to behave, just like a human being, where you move around and you go pick and place things, you move materials around. So all of these are connected, intelligent, and interactive, right? So with the robots now priced as a commodity and technology that is time-tested and robust, because these have been there for a long time, right? And the programming, these robots are now programmed like Lego Mindstorms, for most general applications. In fact, it's more like configuring than programming, right? And then these things are getting introduced in the early education as well, right? And then robotic technology providers with labs ready to help on advanced application and suitability to flexible automation and seamless connectivity to peripherals. With all of these things, I really believe that SMEs and MSMEs have all the reason to explore robotics as their automation technology of choice to remain capable, competitive, and also now lower their cost of ownership. So it's a great thing to be in robotics now, specifically when you integrate this with Industrial 4.0.
Sure. No, thanks for those insights. Listen, I've not had an entire. It's not just an hour. Almost an hour and 15 minutes that have gone by, and it doesn't feel like that. And that's only because all of you have been so interesting and so forthcoming with a diverse set of ideas and insights. Because this topic is such, Industry 4.0 is a very wide-ranging concept. I think the impact that is going to create over the coming set of years and decades. The panel brought out the fact that it's going to touch about 40% of the global GDP. It's staggering impact, but it requires us to commit ourselves to not work in silos. There has to be collaboration across the ecosystem. There's need for disciplined approach, so you cannot skip steps at a firm level and across the ecosystem. The manner in which the whole end-to-end aspect of it, and really closing the loop and putting emphasis where emphasis needs to be put in. The panel really brought out two rapidly emerging but very critical aspects, in addition to what has already been recognized, which is human centricity, and also the need for circular economy and recognizing the importance of sustainability. So again, these are very, very important critical aspects. The challenges are many, but I think we are empowered by not just technology now, but the manner in which technology is getting orchestrated and the pace at which we have really seen this COVID empowered, if I can use that phrase, digital transformation that has set in. I think it gives us a lot of hope that we'll be able to not only overcome and drive the next phase of growth, but also create a wide-ranging impact and help realize the potential that we are expecting to see across the Indo-Pacific region. So thank you so much, esteemed panelists. You've been a great panel to have, made my job a lot more easier. Really appreciate the insights. And back to you, Poonam.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sani, for moderating the session so well. And I'd also like to sincerely thank all the panelists and the participants of the session for taking out their time and sharing their valuable insights. With this, we come to an end of this session. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Be safe. Bye.
Yes.